Welcome to the ITSP Magazine Podcast Network, a modern, innovative multimedia platform, broadcasting ideas and connecting minds. Every company has a story to tell, from the small startup to the large enterprise, and everything in between. This is one of them. We hope you enjoy this brand story conversation.
And here we are, we're ready for another 7 minutes on ITSP Magazine with a new short brand story. And I'm thrilled to have Michael and Ryan on from Schellman. And Schellman's all about streamlining IT audits and attestations for some of the world's largest companies. Thanks for joining me, Michael and Ryan.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
So Michael, you and I have had a gazillion chats.
Too many.
About risk and all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm going to start with Ryan. Maybe, Ryan, can you give me an overview of how and when Schellman was founded, what its purpose is?
Sure. So Schellman was founded over 20 years ago. Originally, we were actually called SAS 70 Solutions. SAS 70 was a single standard that existed, very niche, actually is what's now called a SOC 2. And as we started continue to grow, our clients said, hey, do you do this? And we said, no, we don't do that. We just do this. But eventually we said, you know what? Our clients really like working with us. We should probably look into it. And so as we grew, we started adding more things that just helped to support our clients in whatever needs they had in the compliance space.
And speaking of working with clients, what's it like having an engagement with Schellman? Kind of the workflow or the process, Michael?
Oh, Ryan, I'll let you start, okay. And then I'll...
Sure. So I think planning is key with any of our engagements, especially on clients that are doing multiple audits, right? Road mapping is so important to figure out how do we fit all of this into 1 year without, making everybody feel the audit fatigue that everyone talks about, right? So starting with the planning of road mapping it out and then starting early, making sure that everyone feels comfortable about what all the steps are, what the dates are, having meetings early. Working with us is the ability to not feel like you are having an auditor just be dumped in to do the audit and then extracted back out. We're with you the whole way. We're holding your hand. We're making sure you understand the process and that you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I would add on to that, Sean. What we're focused on is compliance is the outcome, security is the mission. Right? So everything that we do to help organizations consolidate their assessments, their audits, their attestations is really focused on improving their cybersecurity programs, but ultimately getting them the compliance needs that they have from a business perspective.
What are some signs of fatigue? I mean, there's the physical part of it, but are there signs in the program that might surface?
Yeah.
I'll let you start. Right?
Sure. So it mostly deals with when our clients, the compliance group that we're dealing with on the client end, they have to go out to all these business folks and they have to ask them, hey, I need this piece of evidence. If they go to them multiple times a year, it starts every time you go back, it's a louder responsive, oh, not again. The grumbling gets louder. You get less buy-in. And when you have less buy-in on these compliance programs, it's hard to show to people that there's a significance to it, right? It's hard to show to them that this is worth you doing.
Yeah, and I would add on to that when you think about all the requests around documentation and evidence that organizations need to produce in support of an assessment or an attestation, oftentimes that will sit with their assessors or their auditors for weeks, if not months. By the time they pick it up, they realize, well, that doesn't satisfy the request. So one of the things that we've done is we've implemented something called FTR, first time resolution, which is every time we get a piece of evidence, we look at it immediately in order to resolve any issues that may exist. And we actually track that from a metric perspective, and organizations are able to report on that at the board level. And
speaking of board, do you get to work with a lot of boards to create the culture, right?
I'll start there. Oftentimes we present alongside our stakeholders from a management perspective with the board to help them understand why is transparency and trust relative to cybersecurity important for that organization. And I think we've all seen with the number of adverse events that have happened, the pressure is really on for organizations to ensure they have good cybersecurity posture.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately sometimes we can be the ones that help enter that dollar value that often has a larger, resonance with the board. So talking about how much a breach would cost per person, talking about what recent fines looked like. Unfortunately, that's the type of data where the scare tactics unfortunately sometimes work, but we're often working in tandem with them to figure out what is the best pathway to show what's going to be beneficial from this audit.
So speak to me about some of the stakeholders you work with. I presume the C-level C-suites,
Yeah.
CISO and CRO and whatnot. But
I mean, your usual characters that you would expect, right? So CISOs, chief privacy officers, heads of enterprise risk, for example, sometimes heads of internal audit, as we've entered the co-sourcing space with internal audit testing. So a number of others. In some instances, it may be the CFO or the COO, right? As we talk about the cost of compliance, it's funny, you and I have talked about this before, where can you actually quantify the cost of compliance? You can, but a lot of organizations think that they cannot. And we have those conversations with CFOs often.
yeah.
I think that's a really important point you were making, actually, because one of the things I try to tell clients that work with us is one of the costs I can't quantify in a contract for you or giving you pricing is the amount of internal time that you save by compiling your audits in the right way internally, right? Like me coming and asking one time for something saves how much time internally for you. Asking those set of questions one time in a walkthrough, and that covers 4 audits, how much time did that save your internal resources, right? Like that is something I can't put down because it's saving you. It's not saving us, right? We still need to do all the same testing we've done.
So let's speak to outcomes as we kind of wrap up here. I don't know if you have a use case or user story or customer story you want to share about maybe some of those savings that something they've said.
So we're here at the High Trust conference, right? So we'll take a High Trust E1, which is the Essentials 1-year certification. I went through and looked at the SOC 2 and the ISO 27001. And I said, hey, from an evidence standpoint, what could we re-leverage for the SOC 2 that we're already going to have for the E1? And it was 66 to 70% overage in the evidence. So when we go and we work with clients, when I'm providing them a request list, they get a request list of evidence that says, hey, here's everything that I need. And if you provide all these things, we're good on both ends. So it's seamless from their perspective when they provide something to us. And they know that it's sort of a collect once, test many approach.
Yeah, and I'll be talking about this on Thursday, but reciprocity is key, right? So we have a number of organizations that have gone through the High Trust R2 as an example, and they've achieved state ramp authorization. It's helped them with FedRAMP authorization in addition to SOC 2 and ISO 27001.
And maybe one quote from one of your clients. I know you have a gazillion of them. You're a great guy to work with. Is it something somebody told you that you remember?
I was really scared that I was making the wrong decision going with you guys. And I can't imagine not having gone with you.
I didn't know who Schellman was until I met you.
There you go. There you go. That's fantastic. And that's 7 minutes here on ITSP Magazine. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.